You're watching St. Lucia's only 100% digital television station, Hot 7 TV.
Good evening, St. Lucia, and welcome to our first edition of Chill and Chat, the show that brings you closer to the candidates of the St. Lucia Labour Party. I am your host, Mondi Lewis, and this evening it is my honor to sit and chat with the endorsed candidate for Castries Southeast, Miss Lisa Jawahir. Lisa, welcome to Chill and Chat.
Thank you so much, Mondi. It is surreal to be here and to be interviewed, but I'm really happy to be here. And I want to say a special good evening to our viewers, those in the diaspora, those on Facebook, and of course, all of our St. Lucian supporters, and not forgetting the most important constituency, Castries Southeast. A pleasant good evening to you.
Okay, great, Lisa. And you know that is the word surreal because you're the one doing the interview, so I know it must be a little daunting to be on the other side of the desk. But you're no stranger to this, Lisa. But within Chill and Chat, we want to get to know you, Lisa, the candidate. We know you, Lisa, the senator. We know you, Lisa, the comms director. We know you, Lisa, the marketer. Tell us about Lisa Jawahir, the young lady growing up in Castries Southeast.
Wow. So, and that is something that I really want people to understand, because when you are speaking on behalf of the party, you speak on various issues, and the time has to come when people need to understand, so what do you represent? What is your story? How do we get to know you? And so the transition from spokesperson to candidate has been quite interesting, because it's no longer your TV face and your TV voice. It's more how you relate to people. Are you connecting with them? How often are you on the ground? So I grew up in the community of Forestier. That space is very dear to my heart, because that community raised me. It was not about politics. It was about a young girl and her little brother whose parents were really hard workers. My dad was a security officer, my mom a seamstress, and they did everything possible to ensure I had equal access to education. It was really tough, Monday. And you see me here now looking different, but the story is one that always gets me so very emotional, because it is a story that almost any St. Lucian can relate to. The average St. Lucian boy or girl, man, woman from Castries Southeast understands what it is to not have running water at your house and having to go to a river, putting the buckets on your head. By the time you're halfway coming up the hill, most of the water has gone down. So it increases your trips, and then you're having one overall to go to school, so you have to constantly wash it. And the other story is becoming a bit more difficult, when you realize you're at a point where, hey, I passed for Castries Comprehensive. I wrote common entrance examinations, and I remember that very clearly. It was not a moment that brought extreme joy to me. It was almost instantaneously sad, because I was at that place of, how will I even go to school? Already, it was difficult to get support for the school feeding program, which was only $1 a day. And people say, but man, anybody can afford that. But the true story is a lot of people could not afford it, because I was not alone. And so not having that sort of support growing up really cast a dark shadow on what the future would have looked like, until Dr. Kenny Anthony came in 2000 with the $500 bursary program, right on time, God sent. And that is what I believe has really propelled me to get into politics, to stand and share my story, which is the Labour Party's story one day.
Yes.
It is the story of a child whose family is of the working class and gotten support from the SLP because they had the vision, they had the foresight of universal access to education. And that is how I went to secondary school. And the rest we can talk about.
And I mean, Lisa, I listened to you and, really almost tearing up at that.
I've seen it.
That story. Yeah. And for me, it is always of the opportunities that a Labour Party provides to ordinary St. Lucians, that you, a daughter of a seamstress and a security guard, can now, sit to be the endorsed candidate for Castries Southeast for the St. Lucia Labour Party. But before we get into the politics, Lisa, I'm sure that growing up, your background has somehow influenced your decision today. So, what do you think? Not what do you think? Tell us, how has your background, how has your childhood inspired you to be who you want to be today? You want to go up, go up to Castries Southeast.
A big constituency.
Yeah. What are those motivations?
So I grew up in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and a big part of the church is service to people, service to community. And whereas there were youth groups, which I was also a part of, I spent every single day at church because my parents were at work. And so I'm really thankful to people of Forestier like Miss Frances, Auntie Catherine, Miss Jackie Gajado. I mean, these people really, Miss Anthea Gulliman, who's deceased now, these people really took care of my brother and I to ensure that we didn't fall by the wayside, we didn't get carried away with what was going on. And so church was my home. It was my solace. And I became so involved, being part of the community services group, which was all grown folk, like really elderly persons. And on a Sabbath afternoon, before we come back for AY service, we go out into the community, meet the sick, shut in. And I realized I had a passion for caring for older people. Notwithstanding, the Adventist Church brings out the best in you. I was a very shy child. I mean, you have no idea. I would be called upon to preach or sing, and I'd be shaking. And my first reaction would be no. And I'd get the extra push. You can do it. And when I took the platform, I made it mine. And I would preach, I'd minister to people. And then I traveled. I went to the US. I got my master's degree in strategic communication. And I was part of a campaign there in DC, which is the communications capital of the world, and Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump. And everybody had their preference. But I remember being in the hall that day and waiting for the balloons to come down, but they didn't come down because the preference of, my colleagues at school was not met. And I'm saying, here I am fighting for something in a country that they have their social ills as well. They have their own challenges, but I can make an even bigger contribution by coming back home and playing my part. So I contacted persons home and I said, I'm ready to come back home and give my life to the community and support, not knowing that I would have been projected or propelled into politics so quickly.
Okay, but would you say that it was always your intention to one day, and there's nothing wrong with that. I like to tell people that everybody has their thing. Some of us want to be artists, and some of us want to be writers, and some of us want to be economists and lawyers, and all those great things. And some of us, we want to be in politics.
Politics.
Would you say that about yourself?
I was told that I would be a good politician one day. I was on the platform, I was not even 10 preaching, and people say, you might be in politics, you might be governor general. Everybody wants the best for you because maybe you speak well and you're confident. I wanted to be a marine biologist. I wanted to be a physicist. I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to be everything else. But I never thought of being a politician, despite the fact that people saw that in me. And so coming back home, I became the PRO for the South Castries Youth and Sports Council, which services both Castries Southeast and South Castries, and really getting to know people and interacting with people. And then I had family. Well, I have family who are close to my opponent. And one day they called me and said, I need you to come with me. We're going to go give out hamper baskets in the constituency. And I'm like, okay, sure. Not realizing when I got there, everybody was in a particular color shirt. But despite that, I didn't subscribe to what I saw. And this is an individual that, I grew up my whole life knowing. Then somebody told me that I need to meet Philip J. Pierre. I went in to meet with him, and then Monday, that moment really changed my life. I had no idea that coming back home, within a year, I would have been asked to throw my hat into the ring. As many persons know, that was around 2019. I was not successful. Mr. Henry had ran the seat. He did not win, but he had maintained a close connection with the constituency, and then COVID came about. It would have been difficult. And guess what? He won. He won the seat. I remember the Prime Minister calling me that day and breaking the news to me. But when he came off the phone, I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel like, oh my God, my dreams are crushed, because he left me with something. He said, I'm going to put you in the Senate. I'm like, what does that mean, Mondi? What is a senator? What does that person do? So I said, okay, political leader, thank you. I'm so grateful. He hung up and Googling, whatever. I started to go and watch everybody's speech, and I'm like, is there training for that? Because I don't know how to do this. And so I got that announcement, I believe it was March 24th, it was a Sunday, and I was sworn into the Senate August 20th of 2020. So August 20th just passed, made 5 years since my own government, since I'm in the Senate.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And best experience of my life, being able to speak on behalf of young people, on behalf of women, the challenges that constituency in particular faces as it relates to being so vulnerable with disasters and, the myriad of issues that people in that constituency face. And so it has been quite an experience. We won the election Monday. PM didn't call and say, I want you to transition to Senate. It was like, this was automatic. So I came in as government senator, which is a completely different experience. And then I got the call to become party spokesperson, because remember, you were doing that in the campaign. And I'm like,
I really hope we're not following each other's footsteps, because
you don't want to
I'm not going to do that. I'm not following you on that one.
And I'm like, I don't want to do that. So that's like too much. And I remember General Secretary, it was the swearing in of the ministers, and we were at Prime Minister's residence in VG, and we sat there, and he said, no, you need to do that. And I'm like, and the political leader called and said, I want you to do that. I'm like, okay, yes, sir, no problem.
Yes, because you don't say no. You never say no
to the Prime Minister. And so it has been an opportunity for me to use my skills and God-given talents to really push an agenda that I believe in. I mean, notwithstanding the fact that I'm a product of it, I didn't grow up on my father's shoulders going to Labour Party meetings. I was exposed to it, but I did. And that changed my life. And because of that bursary program, that was implemented under the leadership of Dr. Kenny Anthony, I was able to go to school, and I'm here today. So I believe that story is one that almost anyone can relate to, that it does not have to feel daunting that, okay, for me to get anywhere in life, I have to go through all of this. But if I could have gotten there, so can you.
Lovely, Lisa. And St. Lucia, we're chilling and chatting with Lisa Jawahir, the endorsed candidate for the St. Lucia Labour Party for the constituency of Castries Southeast. We'll be right back after the break.
Castries Southeast. This Sunday, September 21st, the St. Lucia Labour Party proudly launches Lisa Jawahir, your candidate who will lead with compassion, vision, and strength. Join us in Ulster as we stand together with our political leader and Prime Minister, Honorable Philip J. Pierre, to celebrate leadership, unity, and progress. This Sunday, Ulster comes alive. Together with Lisa Jawahir and Prime Minister Pierre, we are moving forward together.
Lisa, we voting for. Lisa, we voting for. Hey, Lisa, we voting for.
St. Lucia, it's time to chill and chat. Every Tuesday night at 8 on Hot 7 TV. Join Mondi Lewis as she sits with candidates of the St. Lucia Labour Party, sharing their stories, their vision, and their plans for you. Let's move forward together. Don't miss it.
Welcome back, St. Lucia. I'm your host, Mondi Lewis, and this evening we are chatting with Lisa Jawahir, the endorsed candidate for Castries Southeast. And we heard in the first segment about, Lisa's upbringing in Castries Southeast, particularly Forestier, her motivations, and just, I think, a story that a lot of St. Lucians can identify with, the story of, of getting an education, getting access to an education, and really making your family proud, really making yourself proud. And this, Lisa, your story is the story of a Labour Party, is what a Labour Party seeks to do in terms of empower people through education, through opportunities, so that the next generation can be better than the one before. And I'm happy that we continue to attract that quality of candidates. So kudos to you, Lisa.
Thank you.
So now that you're on the campaign trail, Lisa, we the election will come and the political leader and prime minister will call that when he sees fit. But now that you have gotten the endorsement of the party, what has been that experience like on the ground for you?
Very interesting. It's one thing to be part of a campaign, and I have been part of a campaign at the highest level, and feeling like, I can manage this, and you smile and you talk to people, and they're all very nice, and you do everything you need to do. But it's a completely different feeling when you know that what is at stake is your name on that ballot paper. And so I've been met with a lot of amazing feedback. A lot of people feel that they are excited about something fresh, something hopeful, somebody they can identify with. And that is not just because I'm a woman, but I'm also young and still can interact with the fellas on the block, still can put on my boots and go on my farm and have a conversation with farmers and understand what that means for them. And there's also the criticism of, Labour Party and gas prices and this, that, and the other. The challenges that we can manage to some extent, but the things that we have absolutely no control over, you get that kind of backlash because that is all what the opposition is pushing. They cannot push anything negative about Lisa and what's in my closet because what is in my closet is really an open closet. Those who know me know how I grew up. They know my circumstances. I've never been shy to talk about who I am and what I represent. If it's one thing I know is I'm proud of all of my experiences because they've really shaped me. And so the good and the bad feedback, I continue to take it in good stride because it really helps me be better. It helps me strengthen my talking points on the ground. And it helps me understand that what you think might be the issues affecting a community might not necessarily be that. And it takes a government and candidates who are aware and in tune with the ground to understand the need for consultation, the need for community involvement, the need for meetings, and not just telling people, I'm going to build a court in Raven Paso, but to ask them, do you need a court? What is it that you want? What is it that you are seeing? And so the issues are very wide ranging. And that is because that constituency is not an easy constituency as it relates to one size fits all solutions. What obtains in Forestier will not be the case in Cul-de-sac or Cooley Town. And whilst Forestier might be known for contractors and this, that, and the other, Bexar might be known for sportsmen and women. Housing repair is the biggest request you get when you are on the ground. And the communities are so vulnerable because of how we built our structures and where we built our homes. We built our homes near riverbeds. And you would think that persons who have been in politics for a very long time would understand these vulnerabilities. And if I might just pick out one which really confuses me, you look at the Bexar Basin. We've had so many challenges with getting that sporting facility, the field, up to a point where it can be sustainable for our young men and women to constantly have activities there. But it's in the way of the river. And so it's constantly flooded and it's constantly wet. Then a stone's throw away is the Bexar Primary School, which was earmarked for demolition for a while now. Why? That place was called a disaster zone, like a safety zone. How do you get to the Bexar Primary School if everywhere around it is flooded? But here comes somebody with some not so bright idea of building a human resource center right there. So when it floods out, how do you
Is this the one
access
of
it
the
to
21 toilets?
21 or 26? Let me tell you, it is an eyesore because it, in my opinion, the monies there could have been used differently. You could have had the structure, acquire land, in a better location. But in terms of the motive, I cannot read people's hearts, Mondi, but I do not see the reasoning of having it there because that is one thing that we know. Bexar is always flooded, right? So we have housing repair, we have climate change and adaptability. Castries Southeast used to be the breadbasket of St. Lucia, the odd cul-de-sac belt, and a lot changed, and that is no more. We still have a lot of persons who are in agriculture. We still have the majority of butchers island-wide in our constituency. The abattoir was in Vieux-Fort, it's no longer there, but we're going to have structures that can really support, our butchers in the constituency. And even more surprising to many is our ability to transform the constituency as it relates to tourism opportunities. When you land at HIA, there's one constituency you have to pass through to get to the north, it's ours. Whether you pass on the west coast or the east coast, west coast cul-de-sac, Lacqua, east coast Bexar Highway, you must pass through Castries Southeast. But we don't want you to pass straight because there's really nothing that you might see to be exciting apart from our nice little shops and cabarets. But people go straight. We have the fourth Pito, or the third Pito, but the fourth mountain in our constituency, Pito Floor. So Mount Jimmy, go Pito, Pito, and Pito Floor. And Pito Floor was named after a remarkable woman, Flore Bois-Gillard, who was the leader of the freedom fighters in getting our people out of slavery. And that is where she was. But we have the previous MP, who's my opponent, has not developed that. There's room for development. When you look at Sandy Fe, the parrots, the Amazon versicolor, they come out in that community when it's fruit season. That is opportunity, for us to showcase our biodiversity. There's opportunity for eco-lodging in Mark. So when you pass through forestry, you come down through Mark, if we fix that road, you can enjoy the little butcher's pudding or the stew liver.
Yes, I'm always an otter.
I know you also not self big up you, big up Blamity. And we have opportunity. We just need somebody with the foresight and a party that believes in progress. So why is it that I align with the SLP, Monday? Is because we share that vision. It's about empowerment. It's not about the handout and contract mentality that is commonly known in our constituency because we have the most contractors and we have the most equipment. It is more than a means to an end, but it is about you having the skills and expertise needed to be able to feed your family and take your trade across the island and even across the region. That is the vision, to really empower people. And the policies of the SLP are people first and people centered in terms of building up capacity and ensuring that our people's skills can be matched anywhere in the world. And that is why I joined the SLP, because we share that vision.
And I love that you're building on some of the foundations laid by Honorable Joachim Henry, because when you speak about poverty reduction, I know that is something that's very clear, very dear to his heart and one of his life's passion, I must say. And I know that you will continue in that legacy and clearly eclipse it from some of the ideas that you espouse, Lisa. But Lisa, going on, you've almost shared somewhat of a vision for Castries Southeast, and you've clearly thought about this.
I have.
You've clearly thought about this. And you've also tied it within the philosophy of the Labour Party in putting people first. But Lisa, when you speak about representation for people, do you foresee, or even are you experiencing any major challenges within the constituency?
Yes, because there are a lot of people with a lot of needs and a lot of wants. And some of these needs and wants could not have been met by the previous or by the current MP. And Honorable Joachim Henry has his style of doing it, and I will have my style of doing it. But Castries Southeast has 15,321 average voters. But that is not the population. The population is maybe more than 20 or thereabout. And it really tells you that you have to think beyond of whether that person votes in your constituency or not. You have to think of the fact that that person lives on the Sandy Fay Road, or this mother who, this woman just, and this is a real story that happened. This person had a C-section and she was out of the hospital not too long. She went to the supermarket, purchased her groceries, and in little to no time, well, when she was going back, thinking the bus driver would have dropped her lower down, he said he couldn't because a lot of rain had passed and, you know, the road had deteriorated a bit. And so it was a struggle for her. These are things that we experience across St. Lucia because of our climate, the hot, the cold. And, but at the end of the day, people are not in Castries Southeast are not even just focused on roads. I find a lot of people want to do something for themselves, and it is so empowering, it's so encouraging, and that is why we have to establish certain structures. Now, as we get closer, and my launch will be on the 21st, you'll hear a little bit, not too much, about some of what we want to see Castries Southeast to be, because as it relates to the challenges of equipping our people with the necessary skills and expertise. They all want to be successful with the youth economy. They all want to be successful with the MSME program, but they might be successful at other programs, which I have a plan for to create that will be established right in the constituency. And trust me, Monday, you may even want to change your ID card and vote for us next election.
Castries South, don't worry, I'm very loyal. Loyal to you always. Lisa, as we conclude, and you know, the time passes so quickly, and you've really given us a view, a snapshot into what your thinking is in terms of development, further development into Castries Southeast. But, you know, we've covered that serious side, but our viewers also want to know a lighter side of, you know, of our leaders. So just a quick question for you. If you could start all over again and you could choose anything that you wanted to be, what would you be?
I'd be exactly who I am today. And this is not scripted. I just believe that what led me to come here is who I am, wanting to serve people and seeing my community and the colleagues and my friends that I grew up with. Some of them may not have had the opportunity I had, but they still look up to people who can do something for the community. And I didn't push myself in it. It was just really them saying, you know what, yo, think about this. We would want you to do that, this, that, or the other. And so I'm doing it for them. I enjoy it. I really love it. I eat, sleep, drink politics.
I know, and viewers, honestly, Lisa and I, at any time of the night, morning, you can find us on the phone or on WhatsApp.
Yes.
It's consuming, but I think the greatest thing is that you enjoy it, and I enjoy serving under Honorable Philip Juppé, that it just does not feel like work. You're tired, but
yes,
you know, but it's rewarding work.
And you have to know what makes it work for you. And you know, I remember Dr. Anthony saying to me one time, it's gonna be very tough, but it's very rewarding with the smiles that you put on people's faces. And so there's this elderly lady in Lacqua who lives alone. All her children are overseas, and she feels like she doesn't want to trouble them. And I happened to just visit her, and I'm saying, my gosh, this is not conducive. She has to wait for people to come from work so they could get something in their kitchen for her. And that's because the flooring is sinking and she's frail, she's over 70, and her roof, she has like buckets, maybe about 5 in her room, in her kitchen, just catching water. And she was telling me, you know, just 1-2 sheets of galvanized she needs. And I left that place in tears Monday. I sat in my vehicle and I'm like, oh my God, this is not life. This is not right. It's not fair. And in no circumstances should anybody have to go through that. And I mobilized some support in the community. I was not even the endorsed candidate yet. And we came to her and she cried. She cried. We came with the support. She cried, and it was good mess style. We fixed it up for her. And she said, Jen Timamai, you have my support and all of that. And I felt in that moment it wasn't even about that. It's about humanity. It's about understanding that we are each other's brothers and sisters keeper. We are here to serve. And that is why I feel so strongly, Mondi, about Philip J. Pierre. Philip J. Pierre, when he was in opposition, came under fire. Can he do this? The charisma, does he have the vibe? Does he have the style? And he did it his way in the most humble and caring way possible. And when people say Philip cares, he truly does. And if you have a leader who cares, Mondi, it filters down to you. And when I look at the men and women in cabinet and those of us who have been selected as candidates, our hearts are there. Our hearts are in this, and we are in it for the long haul.
Thanks, Lisa. So as we wrap up, Lisa, I'd like to give you the final word. What message do you want to share with St. Lucians watching tonight and with the people of Castries Southeast?
St. Lucia, I really just want you to think for a moment on how things were before July 26, 2021, and where we are now. We've recorded increases in our GDP growth, in our economic activity year after year, increase in arrivals, increase in support to the police, increase in support to farmers, getting our pensioners support, getting our temporary workers on permanent support, giving our teachers that support on a monthly basis, $5,000 youth economy grant that I wish I had access to.
I know, we're not youth anymore.
In my time. And I'm saying, wow, this man came with 3 decades plus, 33 years maybe, of experience and skills and just observing and knowing exactly what Lucia wants. And I want when you decide to make that decision to vote, that you think of a St. Lucia that has been improved in 5 years, and think of keeping the SLP in office and what the next 5 years can look like.
Thank you, Lisa. And thank you, St. Lucia, for tuning in to Chill and Chat. And let's keep moving forward together, Lisa. And thank you again, Hot 7. And we'll see you next week, Tuesday at 8 p.m.
Hot 7 TV is the rising star of television in St. Lucia with our stunning 100% HD quality, fresh, exciting programming, including a balanced, professional newscast. We are now the fastest growing TV station in all time slots on cable. Additionally, over 10,000 households carry our plug-and-play antennas. Our mobile app has over 11,000 users locally, and the App Store is Caribbean Hot FM. Swipe once for FM, swipe twice for Hot 7 TV. It's compatible with both Android and Apple handsets. Go ahead, share the app, and share the most talked about TV station in St. Lucia. Hot 7 TV for the viewer and the advertiser.